Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a Screenwriter's Rant on Licorice Pizza, a movie that takes place in the 70s, early 80s. Looks like nostalgia bait, but it doesn't look awful. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my books, links in the description, including the Pineys book 7, now out, The Paradox Piney. Speaking of the 80s, there's an 80s thing in that too. So it's about a young high school student who's an actor, and he falls in love with an older woman. I think she's older. And Bradley Cooper's in it for some reason as a wacky character. It's billed as a comedy. I gotta say, I didn't find the trailer all that hilarious. I mean, I didn't find it bad. I just didn't find it funny. And Sean Penn? Is that Sean Penn? I don't know. They don't really have a clear shot of him. Yeah, I guess that's Sean Penn. And then I guess she makes him jealous by going out with Sean Penn. I don't know. It looks like Sean Penn. It's kind of a That 70s Show shot. Hanging out. And then doing guy stuff and getting arrested. I mean, there's just a bunch of elements here. It doesn't really tell the story other than that these two may or may not be in love. And they're not going to stay together. I guess that's Sean Penn. It looks like him. Is it Sean Penn? I think it is. I don't like the title, though. I feel that it's... let's see. Here we go. Get the list here. Tom Waits. Oh, yeah, it is Sean Penn. Okay, so Tom Waits. Which one was he? Did I miss him? Yeah, so I don't know. Coming soon. I don't know. Feels like it's all nostalgia bait. It doesn't look like bad nostalgia bait, but I don't know why they don't tell me the story in the movie, other than there's some kind of romance. I feel like they're being deceptive with the trailer. I feel like it's not telling me something, and it should be telling me what the hell the movie's about. They kind of hint at it. I guess he's too young for her, or she's just a normal woman who girls tend to skew for older guys. Maybe she's out of high school and he's trying to date up. I don't know. But it's a love story, I guess. This kid reminds me a little bit. Doesn't he look a little bit like he could be Chris Pratt's younger cousin or something? Doesn't he? Doesn't he remind you of Pratt? I mean, he's a big kid. Sort of looks like him. I bet that's why he was cast. It would be funny if Chris Pratt was in it too, playing like the adult version of him. Maybe it was written for Chris Pratt, years ago. That sometimes happens too. Maybe it's been floating around a long time and now they're finally doing it. I don't know. Would I see the movie? I don't know. It just feels like nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. I'm not getting into the story here. Doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, it looks well produced. It doesn't look like a comedy, though. And it's billed as a comedy in the other trailer I saw. It's like, yeah, official trailer comedy. Doesn't look like a comedy. It looks like a comedy like it'll be amusing. But it's not a comedy. You know what I mean? So I guess the first act, he's in school and he meets this girl and he falls in love with her, and then, I don't know, they don't get together for whatever reason, and he's an actor, and then this girl either gets seduced by the older actor, Sean Penn, and then he loses her for a while and then gets back together with her at the end. And my sense is they don't stay together at the end, and it's sort of like, oh, that was my girl back then, and what a summer, and blah, blah, blah. But, it's also, too, like, I mean, for me, it's nostalgia, right? Because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, but for... I'm 55, man. Like, you're making movies for me? What are you making movies for me for? To me, nostalgia should be, they say 20 years, right? So it should be 20 years. This is because I think Hollywood is run by guys my age. So they greenlight stuff for nostalgia purposes for themselves, right? The guys who grew up in the 90s, they're not going to be in power for another 20 years, and then they'll start greenlighting the stuff in like 2030. And then by that time, the audience will be too old for it. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to do nostalgia stuff, we passed the 80s. We're past that realm. We should be well into the 90s, the 2000s, really, for nostalgia, if you want to do nostalgia. But, like, I think part of the issue is, the 90s had a nostalgia to it. I mean, they had, goth and a few other things. The 2000s, though, that's when it starts to get murky. It's like, what was the 2000s? What was it? It wasn't really goth. Goth was done, and then, what was it? Hard to tell you. 2010s? I couldn't even tell you. And I lived through it. Like, what was nostalgic? So I guess you do need the distance, but I mean, geez, how many more 80s things are you gonna beat the 80s to death too, Hollywood? Anyhow, that's my analysis. I'm leaning towards not watching it. I'm just saying. You bill it as a comedy and the trailer's not funny? Yeah, I'm out. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. We're going to go walkies. We'll see you tomorrow.